it, hit it.
Hello and welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel, brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this super cute snowboarder crochet chunky hat. This is my crochet version of the wonderful chunky knit hat that Chloe Kim wore in the Olympics when she won snowboarding gold. I also have a knit version. I'll put a link right there in that little I button if you're interested in that. But I know many of my crochet friends are interested in making a crochet one. So I have created a really basic crochet hat pattern that I think you will be able to follow along. It requires just some simple materials. Why don't you join me and let me show you what those are. This pattern uses 2 balls of Red Heart Super Saver chunky yarn. You'll be holding a strand from each ball as you crochet the entire hat. You'll also need an N crochet hook. This is a 10mm crochet hook. You'll need bent tip tapestry needle to weave in your ends and to attach your pom-pom. Speaking of pom-pom, you're going to need some Aunt Lydia's classic crochet thread to secure the pom-pom itself and to secure it to the hat using a really big button. These are like 1-inch size buttons, and I'll show you how that works as well. You'll need a stitch marker to mark your place in the hat, a good pair of scissors, and a tape measure for good measure. This is a free pattern available on the Marley Bird website. I'll put a link to the pattern in the video description box down there below, along with all the materials. While you're down there, please smash that like button, as my kids say, and feel free to share this video with all of your friends who are requesting a hat just like this. Go ahead, gather your materials, join me back here, and we'll get started on this really great hat. You'll have it done in no time. You have your materials, I have my materials. Let's go ahead and jump in with this really great hat. So we will start off with this real teal color to get started, and then I will jump to a hat that I actually have in progress. It's the one I showed you at the start of this video. And you'll notice I'm pulling from the inside of both of these balls of yarn. That's really great about Super Saver is they have the center pull that you can just grab and start pulling. So we will be pulling from both of these balls of yarn. We'll start off with a slip knot. So what you want to do for a slip knot is take the tail, place it in the palm of your hand, take the working yarn, wrap it around the forefinger and middle finger, and when you come back up, cross over. Once you cross over, turn your hand, go underneath the front loop, grab the back loop, and pull it off. You've now created a slip knot that we will place on our hook. Now you need to chain 29 stitches. To chain, you'll take your hook and you'll go around your yarn like so, grab the yarn, and then pull it through the loop that's on your hook. Now this loop is a chain stitch and that counts as 1. So we will do that again. You take your hook, go around the yarn, and then pull that through. That's 2. Around the yarn, that's 3. As you move along, gradually move your hand up along the path of those chains to make sure that they stay straight. You'll do this until you get 29 chains. Remember not to count the loop that's on your hook. Once you have 29 chains, your work will look a little bit like this. And this is the entire body of your hat. As I bring in the example we're doing, we just chained this entire length. And so now we need to work into those stitches. When we work these first stitches, I want to make sure that we are not only working through one loop of our chain, I want to make sure you're grabbing this back loop and what I like to call the butt of the stitch, the underneath section. What that will do is it will leave this loop right here, that's, if I was thinking about it, it looks like it's the bottom loop. It would actually be called the front loop. We're going to leave that free because that's what we will join our 2 edges of the hat together later on. We will not count the loop on our hook, and we need to do a half double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook. So you will count 1, 2, 3, and we'll do a half double. For a half double crochet, you yarn over your hook, 1, 2, 3, go into this chain. Remember, we want to make sure we pick up both of those, so it's the back loop and what I call the butt of the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay, now if you're new to crochet, you want to make sure that you pull up your loop and your hook is parallel to the work you have going right here. It'll make sure that your stitch is consistent. Yarn over your hook and then pull through all of the loops that were on your hook. That completes a half double crochet. Now I want to point out we are not counting this first chain 2 as a stitch. So I'm not counting that as a stitch. It's just going to hang out there. What I want to do now is half double crochet all the way down these chains to the last 5 chains, where I will do 2 single crochets and then I'll slip stitch in the last 3. So let's go ahead and do the next half double crochet. I will yarn over my hook, go to the next chain, and work my half double crochet. You'll notice as I'm working along, I really try and maintain the chain stitches at a parallel way, like I keep it parallel, just as if it were the bottom of my work, which it is, but it makes it so that it's easier for me to find my actual stitches and to make sure that I'm working into the appropriate space without my chain stitches getting all twisted. I carry on doing my half double crochets once again to the last 5 chains. I'm doing my last half double crochet, and the next stitches I want to do here is I'm tapering down for the crown of my hat. And I'm also going to use my stitch marker so that I can always remember that this is where I need to do those stitches. The next stitch, I will go into the chain just like I've been doing all along, making sure I get the back loop and the butt of the stitch, and I will pull up a loop and do a single crochet. Once I complete that single crochet, I'm going to use my stitch marker and I'm going to mark that single crochet. Notice I'm just going into the V that's behind the loop that's on my hook, and I'm just going to mark it. All that's doing is letting me know that, hey, these stitches here, there's something different than what these stitches down here are. It's just a visual for me. If you don't want to add a stitch marker, you don't have to, but I find it really helpful, especially as I get in a rhythm and keep going along, just as a reminder of, hey, Marley, make sure you know you have to change something up here. Once you do that first single, we'll do a single in the next chain. And now we will do slip stitches. So we'll go to the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop directly through the loop that's on your hook. So that's 1. Go to the next one. Oh, I missed that one up. Go to the next one, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that loop directly through what's on your hook. And then the last one, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull that loop directly what's on your hook. So what we have created here is we've created the body of the hat and then the crown of the hat. Now you need to turn your work. So we're working back along the row that we just created. We'll start with the chain 1, and this does not count as a stitch. And then working into the back leg only of those slip stitches, okay? Can you see the V? I'm going to put this down here for a second. Can you see the V of the stitch right here? This is the front leg, that's the back leg. This is the front leg, that's the back leg. This is the front leg, that's the back leg. We're going to work into the back leg only whenever we're working into any stitches for this hat. So for these first ones, the back leg will be into slip stitches. So we go into this first slip stitch right here through the back leg only. Make sure you get through both strands of yarn, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through. So that was 1. Back leg only, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through the loop on your hook. There's 2. Back leg only, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that loop through what's on your hook, and that's 3. So those are our 3 slip stitches. Now we have to do 3 single crochets. Going into the back leg only, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. Now we're to our marked stitch. This lets us know that this is our last single crochet, and then the stitches beyond this point, we are going to be doing half doubles. So once I complete that single crochet, I can take my marker and move it up. And again, it's just a reminder that something changes when you get to that point. You'll notice that I'm marking, to me, it's the back leg as it's facing me, but when I come back in this direction, that'll be the front leg, and so I work over here. So that way it doesn't interfere with the marker. Just a little tidbit. From here on to the end, I will work into the back leg only, but I'm doing half double crochets again. So all the way along, I make sure I go into the back leg only and work my half double crochets. I'm to my last half double crochet. Once I finish that, I can turn my work, chain 2, and remember this chain 2 does not count as a stitch, and I would carry on. Now, working back along this direction, I will do half double crochets all the way to my marker. When I get to my marker, that's when my stitches change, and I'll do a single, single, and then slip stitches. So let's get to that point. Just remember when you turn, you want to make sure you're still working into the back loop only. By working into the back loop only, that's what gives you the knit look. It leaves these stitches open along the front here, and it gives a really cool knitted look. So you want to make sure that you are working through the back loop only all the way along for the entire hat, okay? Once we have finished that last row and this row, you know everything you need to know as far as how to make the body of the hat. From this point forward, you'll now need to know how to join the hat. And so we'll move on to that part next once I get to the end here and show you once again how those stitches change up. I want to make sure I'm giving you as much information as possible. I know that many of you are beginners and watching this and working along with me, so I hope that you appreciate the fact that I'm taking a little bit more time to work through the step-by-step process here, but I want to make sure you can make this because I know you can. I'm telling you, just give yourself some time and a little bit of patience, work through the stitches, and the fact that it's a big yarn and a big hook will really help you out because you'll get a lot of bang for your buck. I am almost to my marker. Remember, I don't want to half double crochet into that marker. That marker is where my stitches change up, okay? So here I just did the last half double. Here's my marked stitch, so I know that that's where my single crochet is going to start. So I'll put a single crochet and it's in the back loop only. I can move up my marker. Again, I'm always placing it into that back loop of the stitch I just finished. I'll do a single into the next stitch over in the back loop only. And now I'll do slip stitches. So working into the back loop only, I'll pull up a loop, pull that through the loop on my hook. Go into the back stitch, back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through the loop on my hook. And then going into the back loop, make sure you get through both strands, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through. You can see here, it's already starting to get tapered up here and a lot bigger down here, and that's what we want. Those last 2 rows are what you're going to repeat for the entire body of the hat. When you're at the end with the slip stitches, make sure you work 3 slip stitches and then 2 singles. Your marker will be there, and then do half doubles to the end. On the following row, you'll chain 2, do half doubles all the way up to the marker, and in that marker, you'll do a single in the next one, and then slip stitches in the last 3. For all of those, you're only working through the back loop only. Once you've completed the body of your hat, it looks a little something like this. Okay, so I have the body of the hat here. You can see it's larger than what my camera can grasp. And I've also made this one in white, so it's a little bit harder to see. I apologize. But you can see that we have a nice tapered section up here. This is going to be the crown where we close up the top of the hat. And then down here, this is the body of the hat. And right here is where this will flip up and become the nice brim. What we need to do at this point, and I'm going to hold this up so you can see where we are. What we need to do at this point is we need to close this hat. And to do that, we are going to join together with the slip stitch our chain edge to the edge that we just finished. In order to do that, all I need to do is line up the edge I just finished to the edge that we started. And remember, when I told you to leave that front loop open when we were chaining right here, And I said, don't work through that loop. Make sure you work through the back loop and the butt of the stitch. This is why it's easier to work into those solitary loops when we're joining to this particular last row of your hat. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. I have my hat positioned, and I will go ahead and insert my hook into my last loop that I have on here. I will go ahead and chain one, and then working through the back loop only of the row that I just finished, so working into the back loop only of that one, and going into the corresponding open loop of my chain edge, I will slip stitch those together. So I'm through both of those. So this is the back loop, that's my chain edge, yarn over, pull through both of those and the loop on my hook. Go to the next stitch over, back loop only, go to the corresponding chain edge, chain loop, yarn over, and pull through all of those. I will do this all the way down the hat, and what this is doing is it's joining the two edges of the hat, and it's giving me the same knit look that we want to have. So I'm just making sure I'm going through the back leg of the stitch I just finished, the row I just finished, and the corresponding open chain from my chain edge all the way down. If you find that you get off track for any particular reason, just undo it, line your stitches up once again, and carry on. This really isn't super hard, and it's one of the easiest ways to join pieces of work like this when you're working with ribbing. And it makes it look virtually seamless. It looks really good when everything is said and done. Make sure you get through both strands of yarn. Always work through both strands of yarn. You don't want to leave just one strand hanging out there. That's part of the beauty of working with two strands, is that it makes it nice and bulky. But what makes it a pain is that sometimes you can accidentally forget one of the strands, and you will notice it. Trust me, I've made enough things with two strands of yarn, and I've thought to myself, oh, nobody will ever notice that, and they totally do. So just take the time and just pull it out and redo it. It's not that difficult. Hopefully by this point you've realized how quickly this hat gets made up. I actually made my hat up in the middle of a conference call. I made the entire hat. It was pretty crazy, but it just works up so quick with this end hook and then doubling up the Red Heart Super Saver chunky yarn. Now I left my marker in here so you could see that I did use my marker throughout the entire hat process, but I also wanted it to be able to show you that even though here's my marker and here's my single crochet, I'm still going into the back loop of that single crochet and the corresponding chain edge and working through those. I can go ahead and remove my marker and then go into the back loop and just continue all of the way up. Hopefully you have done everything right and you are finishing one for one when you get down here to the very end where it's one last stitch. I got to make sure I get through both of those. There it is. It's hiding from me. And then one last corresponding beginning chain here. There we go. And we now have a hat that's nice and joined together. Now that we've joined the body of the hat, we really want to bring together the top of the hat closed, right? Because that's what we want. We want the hat closed. This isn't a messy bun hat. We actually want a really cool pom-pom at the top. So let me show you how to do that now. What we're going to do now is close the top of the hat by threading our tail through some stitches here and pulling it like a drawstring. So what I want to do right now is we're going to finish off this last stitch we did just by yarning over and pulling through. And I'm going to cut myself a nice long tail. I I like to cut more tail than I probably need. I think I just cut about 14 inches, but I prefer it to be too long than too short. Once you've cut your tail, go ahead and take your hook and pull that tail through. So now your loop is secure. And what you want to do is, with both strands of yarn, take your bent tip tapestry needle and thread the tail of the yarn through your bent tip tapestry needle. Once you've thread your tapestry needle, it's time to work this needle and yarn through stitches at the top of the crown. If you turn your hat just like so, hopefully you can see well enough here, at the top of each of these ridges, you'll see that there's a nice loop there. What I want you to do is I want you to take your needle and go into each one in this manner, okay? So we're going to go through each one just like so, okay? And we're just going to skip over all the way around. We're going to make sure we get through each one, okay? And again, it's always nice to have your tail nice and long. Hopefully you kept yours nice and long as well. You'll notice I'm just rotating my work around. Did I go into that one? Yeah, I did. Rotating my work around so I can make sure I get into each edge here. And there's just that nice little bump there. It makes it really easy to just work into, and it'll make it so that we are pulling this string into a nice stitch there, and it shouldn't overextend any particular loop. It gives a nice stable fabric to work into here. I'm completely ignoring my beginning chain there, my beginning tail, and not working into it. I will weave those in here in a minute. And I'm back here at the start. So I'm back here where this began, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go into it one more time where I began. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold my strands of yarn, and because I'm working with a chunky acrylic, I know it's not going to break on me, and I'm just giving this a really good pull. You see how I'm just really giving that a good pull? And what that's doing is it's cinching together closed the top of the hat here. Okay, so it's just pulling it nice and tight. Look at that. That is a thing of beauty right there. All right, super cool. I have a little tiny hole that I could make bigger if I wanted to, or I could pull even tighter and get it nice and closed. I'm not concerned about the hole though, because I am adding a nice big thick pom-pom tassel-y bit to the top of the hat. So I'm not gonna have any concern about any sort of a little tiny hole, but you can pull that as tight as you want to. And the last thing you want to do here is we want to secure this yarn here, okay? So now that we've pulled it nice and tight, we don't want it to come undone later on. So what I like to do is a figure 8. So what I'll do is I'm just going to go into some stitches right here with the same tail and yarn that I had before. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to come up to this end and work through some of these stitches this way. Make sure I don't give myself a knot. You can see, so that's the first part of the figure 8. Come down here and come back through those stitches this way. And so there is my figure 8. Can you see my figure 8? And just give it a good pull. Now I have a little bit of something to work into here that I can just secure my tail and make sure it's all tightened up there, because you don't want that hole to come undone. If you've ever done a magic loop before and had the loop gradually come undone over time, it's because you didn't secure the center well enough. So you want to make sure you secure this really nice and tight. Once you've woven in your ends and secured this, let's make the tassel-y pom-pom bit. And I'm going to show you a really cool trick of how to add that to your hat to make it removable. It's a trick that I've done for years, and I just never even thought about showing you how to do it in a video until now. I finished the top of my hat. Now I want to make a pom-pom. Now I'm a big fan of pom-pom makers, and if I'm going to make a big foofy pom-pom that's like nice and round, I definitely use a pom-pom maker. But when I want a pom-pom that's a little bit wishy-washy and fluffy and just sort of not limp, maybe that's not the right word, but a little bit less round and structured. I like to make my pom-poms this way. It's a lot more rustic. I don't have any specific tools except a Tupperware lid. And then I, of course, like I mentioned earlier, some Aunt Lydia's classic cotton thread. So let me show you how I make these little tassels. Well, really big tassels, huh? I have a Tupperware lid here that is about 5.5 inches, which is great because that will give me a lot of extra length. What I'm going to do is I will take both strands of the yarn that I've been working with all along, and I'm going to wrap my Tupperware lid. And the reason I like to use a Tupperware lid is it generally holds its shape really well, and I have it lying around. I mean, how many Tupperware lids do you probably have lying around? I'm just wrapping my tail and my yarn itself all the way around the Tupperware lid. I'm not adding any extra tension or strength to the yarn itself because I don't want it super stretched, but I do want to have a nice amount of tassels. I want it really nice and full without being really super round like I would get if I was using a pom-pom maker. Now I know there are tassel makers out there that you could use, but again, I just wanted to make this as easy as possible for you guys out there who might not have all of the extra tools. I don't know how many wraps I'm doing here. I'm generally just doing it until I think it looks big enough, and I think that's pretty much how just about everybody does their tassel-y type of work, don't they? All right, let me see here. How does that feel? I think we could do even bigger. So I'm going to do it. Why not? Let's just do a nice big pom-pom tassel-y thing. That's a really great way to describe it, right? All right, so I'm going to say that's probably about good. So what I'll do now is I'm using, as I mentioned, some Aunt Lydia's classic cotton thread. And the reason I like to use cotton thread when I'm securing pom-poms, and this is across the board, is because it gives a really nice secure join. How many of you have done pom-poms or tassels and they've just fallen apart on you? If you use a cotton thread and you double it or quadruple it, you're less likely to have your pom-pom or your tassels fall apart. So I really do recommend getting some cotton thread. So I have a butterfly here that I just made up of some cotton thread, and I'm going to pull some length off of it. And what I want to do is I am going to double this up, and I want to make sure that I have maybe like 36 inches of length. And you'll see why here in just a minute, because we're going to use the extra length to secure the pom-pom tassel to our hat, okay? So let's get some nice length going on here. Perfect. I can go ahead and snip this. And I'm going to thread this directly onto my bent tip tapestry needle. And here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going underneath all of these little strands here. And I'm just tucking, see how I pull that through? And I'm going to pull that up. All right, let's pull that up here. And I'm going to tie it, okay? So before I do anything else, I'm going to tie this. And the first one, I'm just going to tie just like so. See how you want it really nice and tight? And then tie it again. So pull that tight and then give a good pull the second time also. Okay, so that is just to hold those in place here at the start, okay? So now what I can do is place this as best as I can to the top, like to the center of all of that, okay? And using my scissors once again, I don't want to cut the cotton thread. I'm going to trim that. And then down here at the opposite end of where I tied, I'm going to cut my tassels, okay? So I can come up here and just start cutting them apart, okay? It's where a nice good pair of scissors comes in handy. Take it in little chunks if you need to in order to make it work. Remember, you doubled up on the chunky yarn, so it is really thick. Kind of gratifying, right? Just hearing the scissors snip and the cut. I like that. Sounds good to me. and snip. Right here I missed some. Snip. Okay, so I can remove my Tupperware lid. You can see I have all of these here. Okay, let me get that out of the way. Let me make sure I have everything sitting here for you. Okay. This is where I want to take my cotton thread and tighten it even more around what I've created. Okay, so you can see here, this is nice and long, really full, and we can shape this and make this shorter if we want, but it's always easier to go longer and then shape it to go shorter later, okay? Because you could always take off, but you can't add on. This is where I wrapped around once. I'm going to wrap around one more time with this knot, okay? And then I'm going to pull really tight. Okay, you ready? Now I'm going to turn this over, keeping that nice and tight. I'm coming up on this side now, and I'm doing the same thing. So I'm going around once, going around twice, making sure it's tight, and then giving this a good pull. See how nice and secure this is? Okay, at this point now I can create a couple more of those surgical knots. So I'm just going around once, going around twice, give it a good pull, and that's really secure. So if I wanted to, I could grab this and give it a good shake. Oh my gosh. All right, so that's a really big floofy pom-pom, and if I wanted to trim this up so they weren't so long, I could absolutely just put this over a trash can and just trim them up a little bit and make them less length if I wanted to. But I actually want to add a little, I like this. I'm going to see how this works. So here's the next step. You have this really great pom-pom now. You've created this awesome tassel-y pom-pom, but how do you attach it to your hat so it doesn't fall off? Now, I've been doing pom-poms for a long time, as long as I've been crocheting and knitting, and I often add them to my hats with a button. Not a button as if it goes through a buttonhole, but I often will put a button on the back side, and then when I use my cotton thread, I will put that through and tie it to the button. The reason I tie it to the button is because that makes it so that my pom-pom is removable. And then if I need to wash my hat, I can remove the pom-pom and I wash the hat and then reapply it. It's something that I started doing when I had kids because I'd always have to wash their hats and I didn't want the pom-pom to get ruined. So I've been doing it for a long time. I also have done pom-poms where I've secured the pom-pom bit on the inside of the hat really nice and securely as well, like sewn it in. But this is my go-to method, and I don't know why I've never done it in a video to show you. So here we go. Let me show you how to do this. All that it requires for you to have is a really good button. So I'm just using like a 1-inch size plastic button I got at Joann's. I have the hat that we completed, and I make sure I have the right side out. So the side where I did all of my seaming is on the inside. You can see I left a little bit of the strands there. And this is the right side. So I want my pom-pom to be attached right there, okay? So what I'm going to do, here we go. This is I don't know why I've never taught this before. I take my cotton string that I used for my pom-pom, thread it into my tapestry needle because it's big enough to go through this button that I have right here, okay? So I'm not worried about it not fitting. I come up here to the top of the hat and working not directly into the center of the hat, but I want to go through some of the fabric. So I'm going to go into this side, come to the inside of the hat, thread that through my needle or my button. Can you see that's thread right through my button? And I'm just going to let that hang out there for a second. Now I come back over here, grab the other string of my cotton. This is why you needed a really long cotton thread. And making sure I go into the opposite side of my top of my hole over here. Can you see I'm going? So the first one I went right there. So this one I'm going to come over here to this side just to go through some fabric and give it something to hang on to. Come to the inside and then pick up my button, going into one of the opposite holes of the button, pull that string through. Okay, so here I am. I'm in the inside of the hat now. You ready? This button helps it stay nice and secure right there. I take my two cotton strands and I just tie them. So there is just a basic tie. I could add a knot if I didn't ever want to remove this, or if you've made your string long enough, all you need to do is make a nice button, or not a button, make a nice bow here. Okay, just a nice bow. And I like to double knot my bow. And then later on, when you want to take your pom-pom off to wash it, I'm going to just trim this up a little bit. You just undo the button here and it will come off, okay? So that's how I do that. And so now it's really secure on there. I could grab this and look, it's not coming undone at all. Like, it's super secure. But there is a really fun pom-pom. Now, that is super long. I don't want it that long. So now that it's on there and I can see how long it is, I can go ahead and trim this up a little bit to make it a little bit shorter. And so I'm going to do that really quick, and then I'll show you the finished project. All right, so I went ahead and I trimmed up about 1.5 inches off of the tassels themselves, and I applied a name tag with my logo on it to give it that finishing touch. You can see here that you have a really nice ribbed look, but it was all done with crochet. Nice brim. The label there just adds a cool touch, and a nice floofy tassel-y bit there. So let's see how this looks as I finish my hair. How cute is this hat? Oh my gosh. I just love hats so much. They're so adorable. Hopefully you've enjoyed making your very own Snowboarder Crochet Chunky Hat. If you do make one, please share with me on social media. Use hashtag MarleyBird. Other than that, you'll find a direct link to the pattern, the materials, and all of that good stuff in the video description box below. And as always, please smash that like button and hit subscribe so you're up to date whenever there's a new video released. Thanks everybody. Bye. Everything you need to know about knitting or crochet can be found right here on the MarleyBird YouTube channel. Learn with MarleyBird. Visit youtube.com/MarleyBird.